Hello and welcome back, both here in the practice stage and at home or at the workplace where you're following this. So please come closer. I know we have so many people in the room who would really, we would see better if you are closer, and these wonderful tables are actually free for you. But we are now continuing with another speech, another topic, and we're moving from cross-national, cross-Europe dream to an Estonian dream. And this session is called Unveiling the Estonian Digital Renaissance. Really an interesting topic. Although 3 decades plus of digitalization process in Estonia have shown that the functioning and living digital society is possible. The time is ripe for a new leap to the next level of a citizen-centric public service provision. As you know, the private sector has already delivered added value through personalized content for quite a long time, but now the public sector has to come and catch up as well. Our presenter today is Erika Piirmets. She hails from the E-Estonia Briefing Center, which is a digitalization hub in Tallinn, designed to inspire you with the Estonian digital story and our experiences. And she will guide us through a brief journey of becoming digital as a nation. We will examine the path through digital governance, legislation, budgeting, and co-creation, and always consider the lessons learned on the way. I would also like to remind you that, yes, as Mark said in the end, you can ask questions from the presenter through the workshop Q&A functionality, because there's so many of you behind the screens who also have a chance to ask those questions as well. So, without any further ado, I'd like to invite to the stage Erika. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon from me as well. It is an honor to be in front of you. A lot have been asked, are we irrelevant after decades and decades of digitalization? Maybe we are just belong to the museum, and maybe the prime for E-Estonia's past. Well, I would like to showcase to you that it's not so at all, and what is the next jump, the next leap in digitalization for Estonia as well. But just a quick testing for you as well. Whom of you in the last, let's say, 10 days paid something in their online bank? And when did you make the payment, thinking, oh my God, rent or whatever transaction you need to do? Did you think about, oh, I need to digitally transfer my money? How many did you think? Yeah, exactly. You don't think about doing things digital, you just do them. And that is also, my key point for the whole renaissance. It's not about the digital. That's not the point at all. It's about what lies beyond digital. What are we doing as human in every day? Digital is a side effect. Digital is something that gets us from A to B, gets the things done for us. But we don't focus on digital. And that is for Estonia as well. We are a highly digital nation, but we don't focus on digital. I really love, did you notice the previous discussion, how many times Wilma said here, citizen-centric. It's about the person. It's for the human. This is what we're doing this for, not for saying that we are so digital. But yes, as promised, then a short walkthrough from Estonia's digitalization journey, and we did start with pain. I've had very exciting conversations also with a lot of different leaders here attending the conference, and they map their journey of their government in a very similar way. Today maybe we don't have a lot of things. So we're laying foundation, and they're like almost like apologetic. Oh, we're so behind. We are there from, where Estonia started. Great. That's a common place to start. I mean, this is the recognition where we recognize each other as Spain and say that, yes, finally, even Estonia is a very digital society. The process for a lot of governments and the pains are very, very similar. So this started with the vision. It didn't start with digital strategy, digital services. It was rather a dream where Estonia would be if we follow through what the visionaries drafted up for the nation. But again, putting the person there in the middle and thinking about how can we provide Estonia to be amazing living environment. That was the goal. Not thinking about how we can build the most successful digital nation. No, how can we create a wonderful country for our people? That was the goal. And be interoperable, integrated. And that has led us to the situation or the current digital situation where almost all public services are digital, except still one, and that is divorce. But for the crowd, you don't have to be worried because government has said that this year we're going to digitalize divorce as well. So really soon I have to change the figure here on the slides. I say, ooh, 100% digital society, which again, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. It does not make a difference. But what is the difference here is here the seamlessness also with the private sector. So I will head there with my point as well along with my presentation. So yes, as we started from pain, then today we're very much living the digital future. The sort of future that for us is a very natural part of our lives, our very regular daily basis. Let's go to the fundamentals also really quickly and see what does the digital state base on. And even though Estonia is not a box product that you can take and copy paste, and even though we say we have all of the fundamentals, open source solutions, go on GitHub, get Xroad, set it up and just run for yourself, we know that Estonia is not a box product. There are a lot of complexities, and these complexities come because legislation gets in the way, culture gets in the way, human adoption and leadership gets in the way. That's the hard part. Technology is not. But we see that there's still some consistencies that if you get the fundamentals right, then the acceleration or the exponential growth for digital society can have a really successful start. So the first start for us also, it was to have a key. If we're going more digital, how are we going to let people be in this online environment? And mandatory electronic identity was the key here. So today, Estonia is talking also in a political level, like, should we not have an identity card mandatory? Or can we let people choose between passport and ID card, and maybe we won't have a mandatory digital or mandatory document at all? That's a real discussion, and we're really excited to see where it heads. But back then, it was in 2002, it was a time that not even Facebook existed yet. It was important to give people the mandatory key that we said that you don't have to use the services in a digital way, but you need to have the identity. So this created the habit. And again, it was echoed here before, it does not matter how much technology you have applied, it is the critical uptake. Do you have enough users? Because if you have nobody using this amazing technology, then it's basically like you don't have technology at all. The other part, this is only the key, but the part where we get to the services, the interoperable integrated services, is the data exchange. The interoperable data, and what Estonia is doing differently from other governments is not that we have surveillance society or we are tracking and monitoring what our people do. Is just we said, guys, you don't have to be taxi drivers of your documents anymore. The government is solving that on the back end, allowing the real-time data exchange between the data holders and the data users so that you don't have to drive your papers back and forth. That is taken care of. Basically, that's the only thing that is different. We're not running around with papers anymore, but these interoperable data exchange is in place in the background. And then it is the security by design, every step of the way. You cannot bring technology and then think about, well, now is the time that we're going to make it safe. No, safety is by design, by default, from the very beginning. A lot is being said about the blockchain technology. Oh, Estonia, blockchain nation and whatnot. Well, it's a sort of blockchainish product, but vital to maintain integrity of the society. We needed to minimize the human bias as much as possible. And that's why KSI blockchain was deployed on top of the X-Road integrations, allowing us the objective source of truth. But the bad thing, or just a byproduct of the objectivity, is that it will show you everything, also the negative truth. But this is what we believe in. Before, you had a question about the trust. How do people trust? They trust when they see. They trust when they verify. They trust when the government is not telling you, please trust us. But they trust when the government is telling, I'm open. I don't have anything to hide. I'm in service for you, for my citizens. And well, how embarrassing would it be if we would lose a part of our digital society just because we forgot to make copies, right? And that's why we are keeping the data embassy in Luxembourg. So the concept that is becoming more and more looked into by many other governments across the world, how do you back up your country in a different country? Just in case. We know that data centers catch fire, or we're very lucky in Estonia. We don't have natural disasters like volcano eruptions or earthquakes. But what if you're in a region that do? And so you need to have multi-layer security, just in case. And one thing about all of these building blocks is not how to make technology 100% safe. I have bad news, that doesn't exist. Absolute security with technology does not exist. So the only thing that you can be certain of is that technology will fail you. In one moment, be absolutely calm, technology will fail you. So the only thing in your domain or under your control is to ensure that you're ready when technology fails you. And what are the crisis management systems? Are you ready when the disaster strikes? So that's the only thing that you have to do. And this is why we believe that we're really innovating for a future-proof tomorrow. Not only the infrastructure that was laid in the beginning of 2000s, but also resilient for the future. But then we hit another pain. So there was another limit. You see, we are a tiny nation. We like to call ourselves compact. But with mandatory electronic identity, there was a moment where we digitalized all of our citizens. And now what? So we had two options. So either there's going to be exponential demographic explosion and we'll have a lot of new babies. Didn't happen. Or we're going to break through a glass ceiling and somehow expand Estonia beyond borders. And we thought, well, that might be a concept. So we created a digital nation, allowing e-residency and saying, well, if you're not born into the digital society, you can still become E-Estonian and still have access to this modern digital society from wherever you're born, wherever you're living. But understanding, like, what if we open up our government infrastructure and allow borderless business, or using, I call it GaaS, government as a service. What if your government is a platform and people remotely could choose to opt in because they see an added value from here? So that is why e-residency concept functions as a possibility to opt in. You like what Estonian infrastructure and ecosystem, digital ecosystem has to offer, and you would like to be remotely connected. That's not a visa, by the way. It's not a citizenship. You cannot physically come to Estonia using e-residency, but you can virtually be connected to it just because you find it a very attractive environment. And a lot of people do. This is why we have a lot of e-residents from 180 different countries. We're really happy that this conference is taking place in Tartu, our second largest city. But if all of those e-residents would be a physical community in Estonia, they would be bigger than this city. So this is a very big addition to our population who are setting up businesses on Estonian legal soil, doing business with the whole digital market and paying taxes to our state budget. So understanding that you have a great idea, we don't want to set barriers. Go ahead and develop your idea. So simply openness and availability for to innovate. Go ahead. You can be the developer of the future. We give you the freedom. We give you the keys. But then what's next? I mean, seems like all of these things were functioning, and yes, after a couple of decades of digital success, we got lazy. And it was very comfortable because we made all of these unique concepts, and everybody were referring to and still referring to, ooh, Estonia, the most digital nation in the world. Great, that's impressive, that's good. But if you stop, you're already behind. So we needed another wall to climb. And now what was said in my introduction also, the private companies are always ahead of governments. We're barely catching up. So this is what private companies have been doing for the longest time, offering a very personalized interaction, a personal service. So thinking also, how can we eliminate the obsession of government processes and turn the focus on the person? We still have digital government, but it is a reactionary digital government. So a person needs to launch the communication digitally, but I need to launch, I need to start. But what if you redesign and have a different approach into user experience and put me, a citizen, to the center? And not thinking that this is a relationship between a government and a small person. No, it is from human to human. So they are people who are providing the services to people who are getting the services. Understanding that it's digital, but it's still an interaction between people. And this is the level of personalization that we think is going to be the next step of digital government's very personal approach that the technology will enable us. Very often in the briefing center, everybody, well, the most frequently asked question is, what about the elderly? What about the grandmas? Important thing to address. You will, when you're in the beginning of your digital transformation journey and you will introduce all of these digital building blocks and electronic identities and say to your grandmas, look, you need to go into digital tax declarations now. It's hard. This creates barriers. That is a habit change that involves competencies that I don't know anything about, that I don't know. So maybe I'm left behind. Maybe I'm not part of a good society member anymore. My government does not take me into account. Well, that was the good thing that in Estonia we thought about that. Not only implementing technology and letting people just figure it out. That's your tax declaration, figure it out. But also large-scale training courses along the way, all of the processes. They're still happening to this day. So when COVID hit, then extra training courses were also launched, teaching grandmas how to order from online pharmacies and get your medicine delivered, or how not to go to grocery shopping, to physical shop and get your products delivered to your doorstep. Times change, necessities change, training has to follow through. And also not to mention the tiger lip. I don't know what we have with exotic animals. Our coat of arms, 3 lions, and the big education program is a tiger leap. So something we have with big cats. But tiger leap made an amazing leap in the education system and brought the physical infrastructure, meaning computers and broadband internet to all public schools in Estonia, but also integrated ICT competences into our national curricula. So this was, I don't call myself digitally born generation, but I'm digitally transformed because, yes, of course, in the first years also when I went to primary school, I had physical diaries with Barbies and horses, but that very soon shifted into online diaries. And from then on, my lifestyle was by default digital. It was just a natural thing that I didn't think about. I haven't signed a job contract on a paper. It has always been digital signing, or whenever I needed to apply for my university, I was in south of France. I was not even in Estonia. So there were other peers with me and just envying me, saying that, Erika, do you understand that just because we're here in France, we're missing a whole scholar year, so we have to take a sabbatical and next year reapply because we're not physically in our home countries? And I said, I don't know, I'm starting university in September. The university just confirmed with me, Erika, are you actually coming? Because we're kind of admitting you, and said, yeah, I will be back. Don't worry. So in September, I was back. That didn't intervene with my life. Or I have never been to a polling station in my life to vote. I've only participated in different elections digitally using iVoting. I don't think that, oh, I'm going to iVote. I just vote for my federal government, for my local government, for the European Parliament. I just vote. It's just through the computer. So, of course, older generation need a bit of help, upskilling, but also family member help. And we put a lot of emphasis on them, rightfully so. But why don't we think about the future generations? Why in with digitalization we're just heavily focusing all the time with the elderly generation and trying to bring all the grandmas digitally? By the way, spoiler, you don't have to digitalize all grandmas. They can still go physically to the offices. That's completely okay. That happens in Estonia too. But what about the next generation expectancies? They have demands. They are already digitally born. And even Estonian digital government that is still accessible through computer is too old for this next generation. They have completely different understanding, expectation, and willingness to interact with their government. So this is the future demand that we have to cater for. They are our next generation policymakers, leaders of the government, entrepreneurs. And this is not Estonian specific, let's say, line of maturity at all. It's being used by the World Bank, IMF, different institutions, just mapping out where are we exactly in our digitalization journey. So we started from e-government, and that is the three foundations, right? Your digital ID, data interoperability, cybersecurity. That's your good foundation. Then you move already towards digital government, which enables end-to-end digital services that replace your physical services, but they're still reactive. You initiate them. And today, why I also started with beyond digital, because we're moving to a post-digital era where digital does not matter anymore, where we can collide or bring together a lot of different services and just show people the relevant services taking place in their life, or providing good user experience. For example, getting married. Me and my government, we understand marrying in a very different way. I imagine, being in a white dress, I'm very happy, I'm walking down the aisle towards the love of my life, and it's a beautiful event. My government thinks that they should check whether we are related or not. If we're 18 of age, if we are both unmarried currently, then we need to pay the state fee. Then we need to think what is the shared property or not shared property between us. Then if someone wants to change the surname, then we have to also reapply for document. Sounds romantic? That's not what I want to deal with. I want to deal with getting married. So this is the post-digital, where we can hide all of the digital bureaucracy also, let's be honest. So that goes all away, and what we can give to people is experiences. So finally, in a very practical view, how do we do it? Well, the first answer might be a bit of letdown. Common sense. You just have to be human, also from the government level. You just have to understand what your people consume, how they live their life. They don't live their life by services. They live their life by life events, what is taking place in their life. Well, but okay, more practically, yes, we do use AI as well. That is also part of the component. Just echoing earlier today, the former Chief Information Officer of Estonian government, Lukas Ilves, also said he anticipates in the near future that we have our own virtual assistants, different AI components, bringing loads of information together into one whatever. Is it a wallet? Is it a chatbot? Is it whatever environment? Your interaction, one interaction. So for like many different digital components and software innovation, emerging technologies, it is our advantage to work together with private sector. Governments don't know best. Governments don't have competence. Governments are not competitive hirers. We don't have the money to have world-class specialists. They are in private sector. So if we want to be smart as government, we let private sector and academia behind our table and let's work together. It's still a very much government initiative. The government will tell you what it needs, but you don't have to build it. For that, you have specialists in the private sector. So Estonia's case, we did a national AI strategy before ChatGPT was cool and trying to bring different AI components. They are really very, very different. So the first benchmark in 2021 was to reach 50 cases. We overdid that. And currently more than 130 use cases. Let me reflect you what they are, because they are really, really different. And if you think that the government, AI strategy is something super structured, it's a 10-year document. I mean, we don't even know what AI is going to be next year. How can we plan 10 years ahead, some strategic document? So it's super agile. You move with the institutions that want to move with you. You are going at the speed of Ferrari and you see who catches up, who wants to move along with your speed. You don't have to wait until everybody are ready. When they are ready, you're late. To just start moving. And these components are exactly with this goal. So what are they? For example, data anonymizer. There's a lot of data. We want to see the patterns, the different correlations. Let's take the personal data out of there. AI component. What else? Chatbots. We started from chatbots. Police, National Library, Consumer Inspection Board. Yes, however that is called. So they were the first piloters of the government chatbot, just answering the recurring questions. What else? Neuroscience. Neurospeech and neuro translation is something that is developed a lot in the academic sector and is used in the government level in the AI components today. So Estonian national news broadcaster, but not only, also the commercial news, use subtitles based on these neuro translations. Or lifetime speech. We need to not to have very sort of robotic speeches, but a real speech simulator. So this is how it's used as well. Again, enhancing the accessibility through various methods that if you cannot see what is written, maybe you can listen. And neuro voice, neuro speech, this is how it is enabled. Or some very quirky cases like we're nature people, right? So what we have adopted in our forests are wildlife cameras. So we like to observe our animals. We like to see when the birds are hatched and then see the chicks, or when the bears are coming with their cubs, or elks in the common feeding place. We're just looking at our animals. but it's a live footage. This is a lot of material. And unless you are a super fan of wildlife, you're not 24/7 behind the screen. But you want to be there when an animal passes, right? So this is why we have a wild animal detection AI. So that's how quirky it gets. It gets from neuroscience to detecting wild animals. So this is the scope today. It's everything. And it's worked just together, collaborated together with different institutions that are ready to do this jump, are wanting to experience to experiment with new AI components. And the bigger factor, the longer vision, is to have a one assistant. So it's the Estonian government version of Siri or Alexa. And we call that bureaucrat. So bureaucrat will be your one window. We say one country, one face. Your federal, local, also private sector services. People are confused. We don't know what services to get from where, what to report to the government. So this is why we say you don't have to be worried about the channels, about finding the right places, about reporting in millions of places. It's about you. The tech needs to be helping and serving you, not you being just interacted through different digital channels. People are confused. For example, I find garbage on the street. I would like to be a good person. Finally, all of us, we want to be good people and report that there is an issue, that the garbage needs to be cleaned. But to whom? Is it the local municipality that owns the street? Is it some sort of federal surveillance institution? Is it the private garbage company that actually going to pick up these bags? Who do I report? And just thinking about human nature, people just give up. They just, I see the garbage, but I don't care about this because people are confused. So with the digital complexity and the huge amount of different channels, because digitalization allows us amazing exponential growth of many different portals, windows, logins, whatever environments, we can do everything, all different apps. That's not necessary. Let's just give one. So also for you, imagine Google Maps. You find restaurants, you want to find restaurants today, but instead of having all the restaurants in your area featured in Google Maps, you have one Google Maps specially for sushi, another Google Maps specially for Italian, third Google Maps for specially Asian food. Would you like that user experience? Of course not. So this is why it's not about technology. It's about how we can make the technology revolve around people. And I hope that that is your takeaway from my crash course to what Estonia's digital society is and what's the next step is going to be. Very often we also ask, what's the next technology? Because, well, in Estonia, we're a little bit obsessed with technology and applying also very crazy concepts, very new things that are not even regulated yet. And we say, let's do it. It's not more technology. That goes really beyond digital. And what matters is the human interaction, is how do we make people feel and how do we let them deal with bureaucracy in the digital channels in 2 minutes and then go to real life, because that is most exciting. This is what people enjoy. And similarly, I hope that you also enjoy physical Estonia, the guests that are visiting today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erika, for these let's say interesting examples and this really, as you said, crash course into the Estonian way of how this has been done. But I think the most important thing to take from this is that it's all about the human, let's say, human-centric approach and the person behind it. It's not about the digital, that the service is only as such in nature, so that if you look at, for example, if you try to do something new, this new approach needs to be thought from the design standpoint already in a digital way, not adding that digital to the already existing solution as such. Maybe we have talked a lot about the positive all throughout the years. We have a lots of different countries here, lots of different people. What were the biggest challenges throughout the years, through these 30 plus years? What would you say the three biggest challenges in our way?
Yes, so there are, we call them lessons, right? And
Yeah.
with lessons, you have to learn probably the same thing all over and over and over again until you finally understand that, okay, that's the way that we should do it. And in a sort, we're still learning this. And that is the question of transparency and honest communication. So we say from what was the first lesson in 2007 when Estonia was under the first cyber attack against the nation state. What was then correct crisis communication was to anticipate the big disruption or the unknown in the society and just coming out and saying, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if Estonia is going to be hacked, what is going to be the result of this large scale cyber attack, but we're doing everything we can to keep you safe. And that is, as I mentioned, also you can be 100% sure that technology will fail you. And in current digital Estonia, there are also places where data is misused or it is being leaked for several purposes. And many times it's just human error that does that. Somebody mislooked. Somebody did not calculate. Somebody overlooked security protocols. But then, unlike in 2007, today, we're not so easy to, or not so eager to say that, look, we don't know, there is confusion, but we're doing everything we can. It's more of a, let's say, positive or pink communication that everything is actually okay. We need to talk about the problems, we need to address them, and we actually, when we have discovered what the problems are, we need to work towards them. And I think that you also in the previous discussion, you talked about GDPR, and Wilma, you said that this is like without teeth, and yeah, partly it is because we regulate all of the data usage, the privacy, but then when the misuse happens, we in Estonia, we haven't been very good in sanctioning that. And I think their people's data should value more to the government, to the private companies, and whenever the data is, something happens to the data, is not, oh, don't do it again. No, there needs to be also pain to understand that my digital identity is worth something. My personal data is worth something. And if you misuse that, I'm sorry, there will be sanctions. And then one thing that we always share from to all of the other governments as well, it doesn't start from technology. If you digitalize bureaucracy, you get digital bureaucracy. You don't get a better digital society. So what matters? Leadership. Leadership, leadership, leadership is the vision. It's the long-term goal, and let go of political popularity. That doesn't work. It's not a popularity contest. It's making a better environment for your future. And in Estonia's case, what else? Partly we have succeeded in this, and I said also that how we can innovate so quickly in the government is thanks to our private companies. But if we do not continue improving the public procurement processes, the legislation, the bureaucracy around it, then very soon we won't have companies who would like to work with the government. So this needs to be also simplified, made easier, and an easier opt-in for the private sector as well, that they want to continue with the coolest digital nation.
I would really add here also that digital transformation is all about change management. It's all about communication, coordination, and actually trying to cooperate in the best way possible through the whole society. What would you say to some of the country representatives here who maybe are still in the beginning of the digital transformation journey? Uh, can they skip some of these legs that we saw there? is it possible to actually skip ahead?
Oh, yes, it is. Please use our knowledge and lose some of the steps. For example, where we are late to the application party. Yeah? So we've been trying to bring an application, and now EU is going to make wallet environments mandatory. So this push has made Estonia to work very recently. We should have been a native application already years ago, right? So therefore also a lot of governments are already applying this knowledge. You go application first, or you go smartphone first. Maybe you can lose all of these physical carriers because this is where your people are. It's not that, oh, we just have cool technology available, but simply people are not anymore behind the computers. They're already in smartphones, and also for the cost of device, smartphones much more affordable. And what else? Don't build monoliths. Don't build something that you just build and then in a couple of years it becomes a legacy and then you need to replace everything. Have in mind the flexibility, also the shared infrastructure, DPIs, so that you can very easily, when something fails, you can replace that. And what again, always keep in mind the people, because yes, it's a human transformation first. People need to change their behaviors. Don't create more barriers. Show where the carrot is. You don't have to convince Estonians to declare the taxes digitally. We do this voluntarily, and not even voluntarily. We are obsessed with declaring taxes because it's nice, it's easy, it gives an added value. So think always with designing services, what is the added value that you offer, so that you don't have to start convincing people or forcing them into online channels, but really showing, look, you have something better here. So just people are willing to migrate into online.
And a really quick question also from the audience is what your take is on actually Web 3.0. Is there a risk that bigger adoption of cryptocurrencies, for example, will make the traditional world irrelevant?
No, no. E-governance also hasn't made the traditional world irrelevant. And I think that the biggest concept here around Web3 is give control to people. So if you can be in charge of your data, I don't know, deal with cryptocurrencies, right? If that is under your control, then it is a bigger success for this to actually work. And that is the whole point, to give back the empowerment to people themselves.
Great. With those words, thank you very much for everybody listening in, for your attention, and thank you, Erika, for this presentation.
Thank you.